Welcome to your safe space, the podcast your partner, friends, parents, whoever thinks it's dirty. Don't have time to read books? Want to understand all the jokes and the TikToks? We got you, fam. We're the spice traders, and we deal in spicy books. I'm Katie, and I need it to make sense.
I'm Liz, and I'm hypercritical.
Before we get to today's episode, we want to encourage you to check out our Patreon, where we publish extra episodes every other week, as well as ad-free versions of our regular feed episodes. Also, any series we read past the first book, all that coverage is Patreon only, so think series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, Guild. Anyway, we really appreciate the support and encouragement to continue doing something we love and sharing it with you.
Thanks in advance for checking that out. As always, we start this episode with 3 things. First is a generic trigger warning. You can find specific triggers for this book in our show notes, so please check those out. We also use foul language and talk a lot about sex. If you have sensitivity to either of those things, our podcast probably isn't for you.
Second, our episodes talk about books, the whole book, nothing but the book, so help me goddess. If you don't want something spoiled, don't listen to this episode.
And finally, we acknowledge that a good book can hit you at the wrong time. Our views discussed in our episodes are our opinion, and we don't want to diminish the work or the talents of the authors in our community. That said, we have some notes. Katie, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about part 3 of Phantasma by Kaylie Smith, and this is part 3 of 3. So if you haven't read the book or listened to part 1 and 2 of our coverage, do one of those things because you're going to be lost. This part will cover chapters 34 onward, and then at the end of our coverage today, we will do our ratings. So let's dive in because we just finished our debrief and we had a great time. So
I had a great time. It's a whole book.
Yeah. So when we last saw Ophelia, she had just gone through the excruciating ordeal of breaking a demon's illusion with the help of Blackwell. And she's still reeling from this experience, but unfortunately she doesn't have a whole lot of time to recover because it's time for the next challenge. And in fact, she's on the verge of being late. And if she doesn't show up, she's going to be disqualified. So Blackwell rushes her to the dining room where she makes it in time just to enter the portal for the devil who is doing this competition. And this devil's name is Rhea. Before Ophelia enters that portal, it's clear that Rhea and Blackwell have some kind of history, and Rhea is described as being very attractive. And Ophelia is obviously jealous, but she's got bigger fish to fry in this exact moment.
She also does her little I'm not allowed to be jealous because we're just friends. And I'm like, okay, girl.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever. Sure, Jan.
She's like, who he fucked before or tries to fuck now is none of my beeswax. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, if you say so.
You can say it as many times as you want. It doesn't make it more true.
Doesn't make it more true.
So she goes through the portal, and on the other side, she finds herself in a room with 2 switches on the wall. One is labeled Forfeit, and the other is labeled Wrath. She obviously chooses Wrath because she's like, send it. Let's go.
Full send. Will not forfeit
send.
now. I've come too damn far.
Once she does that, a panel opens up and reveals buttons labeled with the names of other contestants. And of course, she picks Cade. When she and all the other contestants have chosen, the walls of the rooms come down and they are in one much bigger room. At the other end of the room, there are enough pedestals for all but one of the competitors to exit the challenge, and they all realize kind of together that either somebody has to forfeit or they're going to be a fight to the death, ?
I was a little unclear of where this was going to go and what was going to happen, but it was fine.
Yeah, I also wasn't super clear on what the, I guess, intended outcome was. And I feel embarrassed at this. I just looked up the 9 circles of hell because I wasn't super clear on what this challenge was. It's Wrath. Obviously, it said it in the challenge. I just didn't put that together. But that makes it seem like they want them to fight to the death. But it could be very clear that I don't know, somebody forfeit. And then why did they choose the name?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seemed less like wrath and more like revenge, right? Because, she picks Cade, and then it seems like everyone else also picked Cade because he's hated, but that's not really wrathful. It's a smart move, honestly. And then, Cade shows his wrath. Cade shows his wrath because he goes after some other girl, and we have that altercation. I felt though, what could have been more interesting is if they pick whoever they want, then you said, the fight to the death. And it almost seems like it's getting there. Everyone is angry. Ophelia even mentions that, what's her name? Charlotte. There's some other character that doesn't really matter, is speaking up when she never usually speaks. So it seems like there's something egging them on. But I
Yeah.
did kind of feel like this whole challenge was a little bit of weak sauce.
Yeah, this is one of the challenges that feels like not that hard, honestly. And especially for like, it's like Ophelia and Kate and then this poor girl Edna like get into an altercation and then like everybody else just gets to reap the fruits of their labor, I guess.
Yeah, and the altercation isn't even really anything. I mean, like, Cade tries to strangle Edna, and I don't even remember how this ends because Cade survives.
Yeah, so what happens is that
Remind
it becomes
me.
clear everybody chose Cade, but like that doesn't materially do anything. Like he's just aware of that and he's not going to forfeit willingly. So he takes Edna, another female contestant, hostage and he starts strangling her in his place. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to go. It's going to be somebody else. And everybody's just kind of watching this happen until Ophelia's like, really? Like no one's going to, I guess I'll fucking do it.
Guess I'll do this myself.
Yeah. And so she uses her Spectre invisibility thing to like get a few knocks on Cade and like get Edna like out of his grasp. And then that's when the other people like go to help Edna and make sure she's okay. But then as soon as Edna comes to, she forfeits. And so everybody else is allowed to leave the challenge by sitting on a pedestal.
Which, yeah, this one wasn't my favorite one. It didn't seem very wrathful. This one in Gluttony, I just wasn't a fan of.
No, exactly. It just felt like phoning it in. I wish them choosing Cade's name had done something.
To Cade.
Yes. Like shot him through with an arrow or something.
Yeah, or like just the act of like, I don't know. This one did feel like phoning it in. I just felt like they're all pretty creative. And this one, she was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Or I wish that if it was a unanimous decision by everybody else, that then Cade gets chained down and then they all have to like stab him until
That
he
would
dies.
be fun.
That would be fun. And then they could leave.
And then they could leave.
Bye. Anyway, back in the dining room, most of the other contestants leave immediately, but Ophelia takes the opportunity to get some food because she's barely eaten over the past few days. This was also one thing about the book. Like, look, high marks across the board, just small feedback. Homegirl hasn't eaten like in 5 days.
No, I'm also a little confused by the whole dining room situation because, like, okay, there's food before and after the challenges, right? But then at least twice, it seems like after the challenge, the food all like magically rots and turns into maggots. So, like, is there real food anywhere? And is that the only opportunity they have to eat is like before a challenge?
I don't know, because I think that a couple of times there's reference to breakfast too that is not dinner. And I'm like, okay. What?
Oh, what? Yeah, no, homegirl needs to eat. She takes like 3 baths, but she does not eat.
No. And even here, she only has like a handful of grapes and she's like, I'm stuffed.
She only
Okay.
eats grapes. That's all this woman eats is grapes and whiskey.
Yeah. And I also inhaled a large gust of wind this morning for my breakfast. So I'm here.
And I am full. Listen, no more for me.
Couldn't eat another bite. Anyway, when she's alone eating her very filling meal of a couple of grapes, Sinclair takes the opportunity to join her and tells her that Blackwell isn't there because he's with that devil Rhea, and he implies heavily that they are getting to know each other biblically.
Huh?
And this, of course, has Ophelia feeling some type of way, but she doesn't give in to the pressure. This is when she really starts thinking, like, who he fucks is none of my business. I'm going to go take a bath and forget all of the trauma that I just got thrust upon me.
Even though I'm secretly raging.
Right. But toward the end of her bath, Blackwell himself appears and he demands to know why he wasn't summoned during the challenge and why, even after that, she didn't let him know that she had like finished the challenge successfully. And this is a weird question to me based on something that he says later.
Well, it's also a weird question too, that maybe this is what you're getting at later, but like we already know that he watches them.
Well, he admits to doing so in this conversation. And I'm like, so then why do I have to tell you that like, you watched me do the challenge? You know I'm chill. Like, come on.
Also, just to recap, what were you supposed to do? Like, it was the easiest challenge, I think. What would you have done?
Right.
Because really, when she summons him, it's just so he can, like, tell her what to do. So if she didn't summon him in the room of, like, forfeit or pick a name, like, there's nothing you could have done.
Well, and she even says that. She tells him, quote, I didn't need your help, so I didn't summon you. See how that works?
Which is great.
I love it. She's so fucking pithy. I love her.
I know. She's so great.
So she then goes on to ask why he didn't show up at the beginning of Sinclair's enchantment when she summoned him. And that's when he tells her that it's because Sinclair's magic is much more powerful than his. And he apologizes for being there. So really, she's got some hurt feelings because they, have this whole push-pull thing. They can't be friends. But he didn't come save her when she called.
Well, you were in Sinclair's super powerful thing. I don't know. Also, you keep getting hurt. We've talked about this.
Yeah. And I don't know. She has to have known that by now, but like she's gotten hurt a couple of times. So hazard to guess like their bond is weakening. I just think maybe she forgets. I mean, it is hard to keep the like perspective that this is happening in like 72 hours. Yeah,
that's true. And the other thought I had, which I don't blame her for not thinking of, but if I knew that whenever I got hurt, our bond weakened, and that means you can't help me when I need you, and that means that I could probably die, I think I would bargain, like, I'll give you another year of my life if we could, like, hone up those shores, like, just re-strengthen our bond. Can we do that?
Yeah, just one more, like, let's just test this out. Can you hear me at the other end of the palace? No? Okay, then another year of my life. Let's go.
Exactly, because, like, what's 11 if we already did 10, honestly?
Honestly. So Ophelia then asks Blackwell where he was just now, and he confirms that he was with Rhea, but tells her that he and Rhea haven't been intimate in a very long time. And he goes on to say that jealousy is a sexy color on Ophelia. And then he asks her if he can bathe her. What do you think about scenes like this?
The bathing scene or the jealousy thing? Or both?
The bathing scene.
We've seen it in others. The one that I can think of that I did like was in High Mountain Court in Karis's book, right? When she has her like really horrible menstrual cycle and he like bathes her and then they have like dirty period sex, which is pretty great. Mm-hmm. I have mixed feelings because on one hand, I think it's a really nice caretaking thing, but sometimes, okay, I'm not sure how to phrase this. I know what I'm here for in this book, and that's for them to get it on. So I have a hard time thinking that it's from like a genuine place and it's not just foreplay. And then that kind of bothers me because then it's like, are you manipulating me to get in my pants, or like, are you actually taking care of me?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know if like, I think I like it in certain contexts. I was gonna say like, I don't know how I would feel about it in like real life. Mostly because like baths are for me. Like,
yeah, like
I don't need another person there.
No, like my partner and I will shower together sometimes, like non-sexually, and we'll like he'll like wash my back and I'll wash his, and like that's really nice. But a bathtub is also a very small place, and it's just like it's like me time.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like even in context, I think there's very few that I like. I really do like the you've had a trauma, let me help you thing. I like it most often when that doesn't immediately translate into sex.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I think when it just immediately becomes sex, it kind of undermines the caretaking of it.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, as Blackwell does this, they have a conversation about how they keep being drawn together. Ophelia brings up that it's probably just because Blackwell recognizes the essence of her father within her, but he tends to think that it's something more. He says, quote, "It's you I'm drawn to, Ophelia. Even with my memory gone, you marked me somehow." And the emotions that his confession bring up in Ophelia make her bring up Eric's killing again. And she wonders aloud whether the shadow voice is her, and it's just all of the worst parts about her, but still her nonetheless. Blackwell tells her that Eric was trying to kill her, so that really seems like a balancing of the scales more than like vindictiveness. And he goes on to say that, quote, "Life is not measured in good or bad thoughts. It's how you treat the world around you despite them."
I really like that sentiment.
Me too.
Because we all have shitty thoughts. And like, if you add in OCD on that, I just realized I never read at the end of this book whatever the author says about OCD, so I'll have to read that. But if you add in something that gives you like compulsive bad thoughts or like depression or something like that, I think it's a really important note that it's not about like your impulsive thoughts or the thoughts you have. It's like what you do with that. Because we all have like, if someone could read my mind, I would be ashamed of a lot of the thoughts I have a lot of the time.
Right, exactly. Well, and
I don't mean them.
It's reducing you down to like one aspect of you when humans are very complex and multifaceted.
Exactly. And I think that's a really strong undercurrent in this book with her and her shadow voice of like her battle and what Blackwell says of like, it's not what you're thinking, it's what you do with it. And like her own, I'm always afraid it's going to make me hurt someone or myself, but like, that's not me. This thing might be part of me, but it's not me. And I really love that as an underlying lesson.
I do too. And I also really appreciate that he talked about it not in terms of like mental health, but in terms of just like generally, this is like how I think about how people should be held to account, because I can see how for Ophelia having a different mental state than most people can be very othering. And so it's easier for her to reduce herself to just that.
Yes. And especially we get more of it, I think, in this part, but even in part 2, where she's always thought that she was a burden. Like that's her biggest fear. Mm-hmm. Which those slow, like, layers of her biggest fear, I think was really fun. Like I was not surprised by her biggest fear once it was revealed, but
yeah,
it makes all of this like all the more powerful.
It super does. So on the heels of this conversation, Ophelia then admits that she wants the opposite of space from him. And
as little space as possible.
Readily obliges.
Which is really cute. Just do it. You're going to be here for like a week. Just do it.
And I gotta say, it's another pretty good scene. But this is the start of their scenes being completely cock-blocked by like other people, because this one's cock-blocked by Jasper of all people.
Also, the cock-blocking is really frustrating, but I like Jasper. Could not say his name. I like Jasper, and I like that he pops in and he's like, "Oh dear, am I interrupting? Let me watch."
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't stop on my account.
I just think it's great.
Yeah. So Jasper is actually expected by Blackwell, but Jasper showed up early. Oops. And so after Ophelia and Blackwell kind of recover themselves and get dressed, the three of them go to the drinking parlor, and Jasper shares the news that Blackwell asked him to get. Specifically, he learned that Ophelia's parents fell in love during their first Phantasma participation, and that actually Ophelia was conceived during that time. Isn't that neat?
Isn't that neat?
More than that, they fell in love during Phantasma, and this prompts Ophelia to ask what the whole deal is about falling in love, like what specifically happens. And during this, she reveals that she knows about Salem, which is helpful because Blackwell and Jasper can talk about Salem as long as the person that they're talking to already knows about them.
And since Sinclair already said his name,
here we are. So we learn that if people fall in love during Phantasma, that love is cursed. For her parents in particular, her mother, quote, became more apathetic toward your father with every passing day, but your father became more dangerously obsessive with her at the same time.
Ugh. This made me really sad.
I know. And so what that resulted in was that Tessie Grimm ended up making a deal with the devil outside of Phantasma to make Gabriel forget all about her and her children, their children together. But because Phantasma has such powerful magic, that wasn't a perfect solution, and eventually Gabriel began to remember some of the parts about Tessie and their kids. That is why he entered Phantasma for the second time, because his intention was to break their love curse.
So, all right. This is a question that I had, and I think if I talk it out, it'll make sense. Because Ophelia and Genevieve are not twins. So, like... Tessie and Gabriel fell in love in Phantasma. They both, I guess, forfeited. They survived somehow. Had Ophelia. Then they must have stayed together and had Genevieve a year or two later. And then she like goes to make the bargain for him to forget about them.
Yeah, there was like a one-line fixer in there about when she meets her mother later on, spoilers, her mother's like, I thought, giving him another child would like make it better. And that wasn't what worked. It read to me like it's so insidious, right? Because like with what we see later with Lucy and Leon, like that is a very physical, like uncontrollable manifestation of a curse. But this almost reads like maybe that was going to happen anyway because of who Gabriel was.
Yeah, it does.
So like, were they cursed, or was he just a dirtbag?
Yeah, and maybe like they just got caught up in the moment and Tessie wasn't actually head over heels for him. And it makes me wonder, I'm fine that we don't understand more about the love curses, but it's interesting the different ways they manifest, because Tessie and Gabriel were both in love with each other, where Lucy was in a one-sided love, right? So like that curse seems a little bit different. So if I fall in love with you and you don't love me and I can't touch you, like that seems fine, right?
Right.
'Cause, like, why would I touch you anyway if you don't want me?
Yeah, I'll just get over it. And even later on, Blackwell says that like the curse would only affect like you if you're in proximity to me.
Yeah. So like if I'm just not near you,
Just leave. Just forget about me.
Just leave. Yeah. Just go.
So that was interesting to me. And Ophelia is struck by what she's heard for another reason. And when Blackwell tries to tell her that it's going to be okay, she says, quote, "How is any of what you just heard okay? Especially when you and I are apparently just repeating history."
Which,
Oops.
are you saying we're in love? What do you mean?
Whoop, 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 whoop. This admission has her fleeing from the room. And when she does, she summons the Whispering Gate again and falls into it.
Whoops, 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 whoops.
Oops, 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 oops. But this time, she's able to make use of the Whispering Gate now that she knows like what to expect and what it is, and she's able to make contact with her mother. And they have a bit of a lengthy conversation. Ophelia tells her mother everything that's been going on, and her mother tells her that she didn't share any of the details of like Phantasma or Gabriel or the debt or whatever because she wanted to shield Ophelia and Genevieve from that heartbreak and that pain. She goes on to say that Ophelia is her own person and needs to forge her own path, and she shouldn't live her life according to what she thinks will appease her mother. She says further that Ophelia needs to stay the hell away from Blackwell, and at the end of the conversation, Ophelia asks about the locket, and her mother only says, quote, "All I know is that my mother passed it to me, as did hers to her, and so on for generations of grim women. You mustn't ever take it off."
Which... I was very pleased with how the locket comes into play, but like no one's ever tried to take it off in generations.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too. But what the thing that I thought was more weird was how Tessie Grimm is still a toxic mother even in death.
Like, she's the worst, honestly.
Because like Ophelia has said over and over again how like she had all of these expectations put on her, and like her mother wasn't really a touchy-feely like warm and fuzzies kind of person with her, but she was with Genevieve. And so like she, for example, never heard her mom say that she was proud of her. And even in this interaction, Tessie says something like, "I knew you could do it." And she's like, "Well, I guess that's as close to an atta girl as I'm gonna get."
Which is so shitty because like I knew you could do it is not the same as I'm proud of you. That's basically like...
No.
I didn't expect anything less. Like, of course you did it. And not in a prideful way, but of like, obviously.
Right. Thanks for not fucking it up, I guess.
Basically, it was fun to see more of Tessie and their relationship. And I feel like it really drove home a lot of what Ophelia's been feeling about her. The only thing I did like from Tessie was she was like, "Hey, the family business meant a lot to me. It doesn't have to mean a lot to you."
Right.
That was the only like non-toxic mom part. The rest of it was like, stay away from that boy.
He's not good for you.
No, but she does say that line that I didn't catch until the end where like, "It'll only hurt you," or "It'll hurt only you." And I thought that was very fun wordplay to come out later.
I thought it was too. And it made me wonder like, because Ophelia says sometime later, like maybe Tessie learned the secrets of Phantasma after death, but it seems like she still wasn't able to tell her because if she knew everything, then she would just say like, "Give him the locket."
Yeah, right. Or like, just, "Hey, here's the Prince of Hell."
BT dubs. Does that help? Is that anything? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. That's just what I'm seeing over here on this side, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway. When Ophelia exits the Whispering Gate, she comes out in the same spot and she falls into the waiting arms of Blackwell. This is when he tells her that her confession in the drinking parlor made him realize that space is exactly what they need because doing anything else would be dangerous and stupid. But Ophelia takes this really the wrong way, despite the fact that she's asked for it twice before. And she tells him, "Never call me Angel again and you're dismissed. Goodbye."
Okay.
This was the part where I was like, okay, this push-pull is a little bit obnoxious.
I know, because like you just had a conversation of like, we can't stay away from each other. I don't want space. And then you find out that like falling in love is cursed, which you already kind of knew, by the way. You just didn't know the family tie. That doesn't really change anything that's happening.
No, I do wonder though, like what the conversation was between Jasper and Blackwell after this.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
I mean, ostensibly, Blackwell doesn't know who he is right now, but I wonder if Jasper was like, "You're just gonna end up hurting her. Like, you gotta not do that."
Stop. Because I still
Yeah.
believe that like Jasper knows who he is.
Yeah, I do too, and I think Jasper's kind of like a chaotic neutral entity here.
Oh, for sure.
So on the way to the next challenge, Ophelia runs into Sinclair, who accuses her of falling in love with Blackwell. When she denies it, he tells her to prove it by letting him pleasure her instead. So she does, but before they get very far, she tells him to stop. She tells us, quote, "Though there was passion in their kiss, there was absolutely no heat. Her stomach did not flutter. Her skin did not flush with anticipation." In other words, the vibes are not vibing.
The vibes are not vibing. On one hand, I was kind of like, all right, girl, I see you. On the other hand, I was like, but for whom are you doing this?
Yeah, like a little bit of revenge. Okay.
But like revenge on what? Like he didn't
Yeah.
do
Well,
anything.
I mean, I think she's just trying to get back at Blackwell to be like, you know what? You don't want me. Other people do.
Yeah, which fine. But with Sinclair, oh, he's a scary looking guy to me.
Yeah.
It's spooky.
So, of course, Rhea, of all people, catch this interaction, and it makes Ophelia realize that she may indeed be falling in love with Blackwell.
You've already realized this, girl, like 6
Right.
times. You've already almost said it to him.
Like, shit. Now it really is real. Okay.
Yeah. Which, like, I do appreciate the realism of that feeling of, like, I'm trying not to feel this feeling. So I acknowledge it sometimes, but most of the time I have blinders up. And then other times it's like I can't ignore it anymore, I guess.
Yeah. It was definitely giving Hercules, I won't say I'm in love, like, whiplash a little
Big time.
bit.
Oh, yeah.
So the next trial is deceit, and the contestants are put in a room and chained to chairs around a table. But of course, Ophelia slips her bindings immediately using her specter abilities. There are concrete pillars suspended above them, and they indicate whose turn it is, and they also guarantee certain doom for whoever fails the challenge. For each contestant, their finger is pricked and their blood drawn to reveal a truth about them, or potentially a falsehood. And it's up to the other contestants to decide which it is. I really liked this challenge.
I loved this challenge. Like, I could have watched like 4 more rounds of this challenge.
Yeah. I just, the way that it plays out, I love it.
It's so
So
good. Because at face value, it seems really easy, right? The person could just tell you what it is. But like some of them, they don't even know themselves.
Right.
Oh, it's so good. Like, give me this for like 20 pages. I'm here for it.
Like, there was one, I'll just use this as an example, where it was like, I have a twin. And they're like, I don't have a twin. What are you talking about? And then I think it's Cade who's like, you don't know that you have a twin.
Turns out they have a twin.
Right, which is amazing.
It is amazing. Oh, it's so good.
So they go around the room, and during Cade's turn, he successfully deceives another contestant. And when that happens, the concrete block falls and crushes this person dead.
Oh, this was also the other twist in this that I loved is from, I think, the gluttony challenge where they could like pull levers to get advantages or disadvantages. That comes up here.
Yes.
I was wondering where that was going to come up. So like one person, they have like a random switch so they can't actually vote. It just randomizes it. And then 2 people get like a skip so they could skip a certain question. And the concrete pillar falling is for some reason not how I saw people dying in this challenge, even though it seemed like that would have been really obvious. But when that fell, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
My bad.
I thought it was so good too, because Ophelia even has the thought, like, I hope it doesn't raise back up and like show us the gore underneath. Yeah.
Which is a valid thought. And I didn't think about that till she said it.
Yeah. It was so good. This was I think appropriately high stakes, like insidious challenge. I wish they were all like this.
Yes. I think like half of them are good and then a couple were just phoning it in.
Yeah, agreed. So this contestant being smooshed distracts a lot of the people around the table, and Ophelia is the one who ends up urging them to complete the challenge so they can all leave. So essentially what has to happen is they all have to do a turn, and then the challenge is over. Unfortunately, as people go around, it's Lucy's turn, and her truth is that she's in love with Leon, but then of course Leon's truth is that he's not in love with Lucy. And as a result of this, at the end of the challenge, when they go back to the dining room, Lucy's skin burns whenever Leon touches her. And so she's heartbroken at this truth. She's embarrassed and she doesn't know how to deal with the curse. So she forfeits Phantasma.
This tells me, we never get it explicitly, but I have to believe that the curse only takes effect once you admit it, like, aloud.
Right. Because it's clear to me at this point that Ophelia is in love with Blackwell.
Exactly. And, like, I think it was already clear to Ophelia earlier that Lucy was in love with Leon.
Right. But now that she said it out loud, the house is like, naughty, naughty.
Naughty, naughty. Does Leon also forfeits here?
He does. He doesn't do it in this scene, but by the time the next challenge is around, he doesn't show up. And I think it's Charlotte who says, yeah, he forfeited.
It makes me so sad.
I know. Because I think this is a really interesting relationship, like, dynamic, because, like, Leon is devastated to admit that he doesn't love Lucy. Like, he still cares about her. He's just not in love with her.
Yeah, which makes it worse. It's not like someone was in love with Cade and they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, Leon has big feelings, just not love feelings.
Right, exactly.
I had something else.
Okay.
Okay. Stupid Cade. Although Cade gets this weird glimmer. I don't know if it's here or later. Maybe it's after, like, Leon forfeits. But Cade gets, like, angry on behalf of Lucy. Like, he has this weird glimmer of humanity that I thought was very strange. The other thing that I thought was weird and confusing a little bit is everyone in Ophelia. Ophelia. Okay. I was like, that's not her name. Everyone in Ophelia's group, like, knows each other, like, outside of Phantasma. Yeah. And then we get to the end and there's, like, random, like, 30-year-old dudes. And it just seems so, I mean, I get it, makes sense. Like, it's a small town. It's, like, the turn of the century. There's not a lot of people. But, like, they all have relationships. Like, Cade and Lucy are cousins.
Yeah, they're cousins.
And, like, Leon is already friends with Lucy, and they also already knew Genevieve. Like, weird, man.
Yeah. It is a little incest spaghetti for their particular cohort. But I also think that that's a product of, like, who's left, because they started with a whole bunch of people that, like, we never interacted with and they didn't have any connection to them. So I think it's just a product of, like, the story progressing.
Which makes sense. And it didn't bother me because there's, like, 9 groups of, like, 15 people each or something. Yeah. Random numbers. There's a lot of people in here.
There's a lot of people. But yeah, so we'll get to the Cade humanization thing because I have a theory about that.
Okay, good. Because I was like, who dis?
What the fuck? Yeah. So sometime after this challenge, Ophelia has wandered the halls for a couple of hours trying to remove the trauma from her brain. And that's when Blackwell meets her. And it's clear that he knows what happened with Sinclair. He's devastated and angry, but she tells him, look, you're the one that made the decision for space and to stop giving into our feelings. So, like, what do you want me to do? Like, I was just trying it on. What I do is, like, no concern of yours. Like, I really need you to stop with this hot, cold bullshit.
It's too much.
It's too much. And he sees that his reaction and, like, this back and forth is hurting her even more. And so he agrees to leave her and says, quote, in a different life, in a fair one, I would have kept you until my eternal soul withered away to dust.
Oh. It's okay. They'll still have it. Spoilers.
So for the 7th challenge, there are only 3 of her cohort left, a woman named Charlotte and Cade. And so in their, like, interaction, this is when we learn that Leon forfeits. And as a reaction to that, Cade's like, I'm going to make his life a living fucking hell. Like, he can't do that to my cousin. And this, to me, was like you were saying, like, what? You're not a human like that. And I think it was the author's attempt at humanizing Cade so that what happens in the challenge feels more complex than it actually is.
Okay, I could see that. It didn't feel more complex to me. I was like, yeah.
I do think that it's a little bit, look, this book is well executed. I think that the character of Cade is a little bit one-dimensional, and I think that's fine.
It is fine. Like, he's not even really the villain. He's just like a obstacle in her way. But if anything, this just confused me. Like, it didn't make what happens to Cade any more like shocking to me. I figured that would happen at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It just made me be like, what? Because honestly, we knew that they were cousins, but like we never even saw like Cade and Lucy communicate ever.
No. Yeah.
So it was weird.
Ostensibly, it seemed like they were there for the same reason. So it was weird that they weren't like
in cahoots.
Collaborating more.
Yeah. Like, I think that might have made this human aspect more interesting. Also, like, okay, you're mad at Leon after he forfeits. You're not mad at him for like not being in love with your cousin. Like, that seems like the time you could be mad.
Right. I mean, unless he just found out at that time.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway.
It was just weird. I'm glad you clocked it too, because I was like, shut up.
Stop talking.
Yeah, go away.
Yeah. So anyway, before the challenge starts, Blackwell arrives and makes Ophelia promise to summon him immediately after she gets in the portal. When she goes through, we learn that this is a battle of wits based on choices. So in front of her, she's in a room again by herself, and in front of her, she has two choices. And it's that kind of thing. If two of you pick this, and if two of you pick this, and blah, 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 blah. So essentially, she summons Blackwell, and he tells her the choices of the other two contestants. And it's clear based on their choices that she will either have to battle Charlotte or battle Cade. And of course, she chooses Cade.
Good.
And I gotta say, we get a pretty badass fight between the two of them. And
it's hardcore.
Ophelia uses her Spectre ability to great advantage. So at one point during the fight, Cade does manage to rip off her locket, and Ophelia's heart begins to slow down, and she knows that it's going to stop beating, which is something that she didn't know was going to happen as a side effect.
That's why I had the question of like, no one in the whole history of her ancestors has ever like taken it off or broken it or like learned this on accident ever.
Like, you couldn't have just said, this is your heart now. Take it off and yours will stop beating.
Because like, it's already magic. And I just feel like if I were 15 and my mom was like, wear this forever, I'd be like, no. Until I tried it, then be like, oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, like, you can't make me.
Yeah, it just seems so strange.
So she gets it back and it's fine. But she's like, okay, don't take the locket off. Got it. But eventually during this fight, she gets Cade on his back, and after exhausting him with her Spectre ability, he's got nothing else to do. So she uses the rest of her magic to blast into his face, killing him. And she tells us, quote, when she looked down at her hands, she found them covered in scarlet. But unlike Eric, the shame and guilt was not immediate. Ophelia found that she liked the blood on her hands just a little bit too much.
Listen, Cade had it coming. The world is better off without him.
Yeah, and that's why I think the author was trying to make this a little bit more like of a gray choice than it actually was, because he's been such a like one-note asshole the entire time that I was like, yeah, the world's a better place without him.
Exactly. Like, it would have been interesting. I'm glad we don't have it, but it could have been interesting to see Cade like through Lucy's eyes or through like memories. Like, maybe he's just this person here because he has to be, but when he dies, I'm like,
cool, moving on. Badass. So of course it can't just be a victory for her. The shadow voice takes this opportunity to tell her, quote, embrace your calling, harbinger of death, unleash your darkness on the world. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That feels a little dramatic, but
a little dramatic.
All right, fine. Also, like, whoa, I thought she didn't want to be dark. Like,
yeah,
own what you did, girl, but like unleash your darkness. That's what she's trying to avoid.
Right. So speaking of unleashing your inner darkness, back at the ranch when she leaves the challenge, she gets to the dining room and she immediately realizes that something is off because the vibes are wrong. Soon, the physical manifestation of her shadow voice reveals itself and tells her that because she killed Cade, now he is free to run in the world and inflict his evil desires and demands on other people. Because of everything she's been through, she's finally at a point where she would rather bear the burden of the shadow voice herself than let it inflict itself upon other people. So she chases the shadow voice through the manor and they get into a physical altercation. During this altercation, the shadow voice like rips into her chest and stomach and like is attacking her, and she cries out for Blackwell to come and like save her, but Blackwell does not come.
This is really horrifying.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like it took me too long to realize that this was Phantasma enacting her greatest fear, because honestly it made sense to me that like her ruthlessly killing someone released it, and I was like, oh, okay, so it is supernatural. Got it. And then when she chases it, I was like, oh, no, this is just her greatest fear. Okay, take 2.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even really matter.
No, I had that same thought, like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like I was still on the fence of whether or not the shadow voice was like supernatural or if it was like really a manifestation of OCD, but I really liked the way this was done.
Me too. It was so good. And I like the way we'll get to it right here, but I like the way it all comes full circle.
Yeah. So she wakes up and Blackwell is there. She's in the same spot where the shadow voice attacked her. And Blackwell is bringing her back from the brink of death based on her injuries. Blackwell tells her that she was the one who inflicted these injuries on herself, and that the reason that she did so was because this was the haunting of her worst fear inflicted on her by the house, which was brilliant.
It is brilliant. And I loved his like saying like, this is you doing it to yourself, because even if the shadow voice was like real, it still was always her. So it's like, yeah, like even with the reveal of like, it's all in your head, like, but it's not. And it is.
It is at the same time. Yeah.
It was always you.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, so good.
So Blackwell tells her he would have been there sooner, but because of her injuries, their link is very, very weak. Despite that, he felt her calling. He just didn't know where from.
This is what I'm saying. Just take one more year, and can we just like double down our bond?
Yes, just a little bit stronger. That would be great.
That would be great.
So when she's healed, he asks to stay with her that night, and she agrees. But of course, they don't just sleep.
No, she doesn't need sleep.
No, of course not. During the scene, Blackwell tells her, quote, "In all the darkness and all the loneliness, you have been my one source of life. My soul will go to its grave with your name echoing in my mind."
Oh, I love their love.
I know. It's so good.
God, it's so good.
But going back to the cock block of it all, they are again interrupted, but this time it's by her sister Genevieve, who is indeed actually participating in Phantasma, which I was still 50-50 on.
I was still 50-50 on, and until we get the reveal of like how she survived, I was like, maybe she's here, but like this shit's hard.
Yeah.
How likely is it that she would actually survive?
I had that same thought too, and I was still on the fence, like up until she leaves, I'm like, this is sus.
Well, and when she shows up here, I was like, this is another trick. Like, this isn't her. Like, how can you
This is a haunting.
It? Also, like, they accept, like, I don't know. I think I would be a little bit more suspicious, but I guess Blackwell would know if it was a haunting.
That's kind of what I thought too. Like, I had that thought too. I was like, how do you know it's Genevieve? But he's like, he always clocks, like, the hauntings.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, he probably would have known and said something.
Yeah. Right? Right?
So Blackwell leaves them to talk alone, and the sisters use this opportunity to catch up because it is actually Genevieve. It's not a haunting or like a fake or whatever. And this conversation serves to break down the walls that had built up between them, because they start this conversation with the hurt that they both have from each other, and they build back up from there, which I thought was a good place to start.
Yeah. I'm glad it wasn't just the, oh my God, you're still alive. I love you. Everything's fine.
Yeah. I did think that it was like, I don't know. I don't have a sister. So like the way that they greeted each other, Ophelia was just like, oh, great, you're here. I knew you would be. And I would have had a wildly different reaction to that.
Especially after all the trauma and all the horror.
Yeah, I would have been like, you cunt. We're going home now.
Right? Like we were both forfeiting right this instant. Let's go. Right. How dare you do this to us?
So Genevieve shares with us and Ophelia that the debt that they're in is because Tessie Grimm bought a second house that was a complete secret. And her intent was that they could use this as a refuge from Gabriel, their father. But unfortunately, Tessie died before she could tell anybody about its location. And I'm like, cool.
That's one thing that, like, do they ever find out where this house is? Or is it just like some purchased house somewhere?
It's just some purchased house. Even Ophelia in the moment says, well, that's a dead end. We're never going to figure that out. Like, I'm like, there's got to be a different way. Like,
wouldn't like the bank know or someone?
The bank or the deed, or, I mean, you're about to be married to the Prince of Hell. So like maybe he can do something.
Find something. Yeah.
So we also learned that the reason that Genevieve has been so successful through this challenge is because she too has specter abilities that can turn her invisible.
But she's known about them since she was like 4 and is super good at using them.
Yeah. So she's like full on specter, where Ophelia is like a half breed.
Which I'd be kind of mad if my sister didn't tell me. I don't know. Especially if I thought that there was like this resentment over magic, but like she has magic.
Right. And then she even says, like, I always thought that you were like not into the occult stuff. And Genevieve's like, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I don't want it to be forced down my throat all the time. And I'm like, could you guys have had this conversation earlier?
Like, you're in your 20s. You've had so long to talk about this.
Yeah. Regardless, Ophelia then goes on to share with Genevieve about Lucy and Cade, and Genevieve is proud of Ophelia for killing Cade, but heartbroken for Lucy. We still don't learn what kind of paranormal being Lucy is, but at the end it's confirmed that she is some kind of thing.
Maybe a seer or just like a witch or something. I don't know. But maybe. But to go back to Cade for a second, Genevieve also knew Cade, and so the fact that Genevieve is like, cool, the world's better off, makes his weird human moment even more weird. Like, Cade was not a good guy in the real world either.
No, he wasn't like a good guy. Which is even like, if we want to get really like critical about it, like, why did he even enter the competition to begin with? Like, he ostensibly is there to save his family. Why the fuck do you care about your family? And why would you do it like this? Like, unless you take some sick joy out of participating, which he probably could have. I would believe that, but we didn't see that really. Otherwise, just go into a life of crime. Like,
exactly, because I think he's capable and is probably already doing it.
Yeah. Anyway. So Ophelia then apologizes for what she said to Genevieve on the day they both entered the competition, and Genevieve tells her, quote, "I'm sorry if you ever thought for a second you drove me here. I was coming here either way. It was always my plan. What you said that day, you weren't wrong. You've always cleaned up my messes, and I just wanted to do something for you for once."
Oh, okay.
So on the heels of that conversation, Genevieve agrees to help Blackwell and Ophelia find the heart and key in the time that they have left in the competition. So they spend the rest of the time before the next challenge searching the manor, since they have all of these new places and wings of the house that they could go that they couldn't access before. Ophelia finds that the three of them get along actually quite nicely, and her heart aches at the thought of this moment being so fleeting. They then talk about a game plan for the rest of the competition, and Blackwell and Ophelia are both of the mind that Genevieve should forfeit, since the two of them have the advantage of being in a blood agreement with each other. And there's not really a need for both Genevieve and Ophelia to compete, especially because if they both complete level 8, they're going to have to compete to get to level 9 anyway.
This made sense to me. Like, if one of you is going to stay in, it should be Genevieve.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, it should be Ophelia.
Right, exactly. Like, Genevieve, I know you're trying to do a nice thing here, but like you did great. Totally. I've got a secret weapon, so like, let me do this.
Exactly. So good, you can go now.
So before they can agree to this plan, Sinclair arrives and immediately gets into a verbal altercation with Blackwell. And this prompts Genevieve to say to Ophelia, "Please tell me they're fighting over you," which I loved.
I loved it too. Well, because Genevieve has already met Sinclair and it's kind of like, he's really hot. His eyes are kind of creepy, but like, boy's fine. And so it's just
fine. And really Ophelia's like,
no.
But it's clear in this brief conversation that Sinclair is like way too happy about Genevieve and Ophelia finding each other. And we even learned that he's the one that like gave Genevieve the like hint that her sister was there. And this just all but confirms for Ophelia and Blackwell that it's not a good idea for Genevieve to stay in the competition. So she agrees to forfeit before the beginning of the next trial. And until the point that she actually forfeits, I 100% thought that something was sus here. But then part of me was like, we're 83% of the way through the book. Like, it would be really hard to wrap that up in less than 100 pages. I don't know. It just felt like she gave it up too easy.
I know. I had the same thought. And I still have mixed feelings on it because I think I'm still a little confused about like Sinclair's motive here. Like, I guess, okay, we'll get to the next competition, but like, does Genevieve have to leave for that competition to happen?
Yes, because I think if she had stayed in the competition, it would have been somebody else.
And she doesn't care about anybody else.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense to me. That's why he wants her to, that's why he orchestrates this whole thing. Like, I'm so glad you found each other. That way she could be like, you gotta go.
Yeah, exactly.
Tricky.
So we get to the beginning of the next trial, and Genevieve does in fact surrender, leaving Ophelia and Blackwell to face the next challenge on their own. And this is the challenge that we're talking about that would have been different if Genevieve had stayed, because this one is based on fraud. And in this challenge, there are two versions of somebody that the contestant cares about. And for Ophelia, that person is Genevieve. And her task is for her to choose which is the real one. So Blackwell comes when he's summoned, and he tells her that in order to figure out which one is fake, Ophelia has to ask Genevieve like questions that speak to Genevieve's judgment rather than memories, because the house has access to all of Genevieve's memories.
I'm so glad that Ophelia is smarter than me, because that tripped me up. He was like, well, it can't be based on memory because the house knows your memories. I'm like, how could she ask her something that she doesn't know, though?
I know. But I think the question that she asked was really smart.
It was really
wicked smart.
Wicked smart. And the way she understands the answers, super smart.
Yeah. There's one catch, and that is that Blackwell shares that if Ophelia or anybody chooses incorrectly, then the real Genevieve in the real world will die, which is why Genevieve had to leave the competition in order for this to be such high stakes.
Because honestly, who else would it have chosen? Like Lucy, maybe? Like she doesn't have any other friends.
It's literally no one. But Ophelia immediately puts 2 and 4 together to make 6 and realizes that this is how her mother died and why Gabriel gave up during his second Phantasma. He chose wrong, and because of his choice, Tessie Grimm died.
So is Gabriel still alive somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
But obviously Tessie Grimm is not.
Nope. And it makes sense why she literally just dropped dead, because I don't think we got it in the start of this book, but here Ophelia says something like, oh, it wasn't a heart attack. And I was like, did we think it was a heart attack?
Yeah, we maybe got that information. I might have just breezed right over it. But regardless, we didn't get like a whole lot of discussion about how she died. And I'm like, that's a big question for me. And so I'm so happy that we got a resolution to that question.
And then it's a good resolution. It was like, oh, damn. Okay.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, shit. And it makes sense for what Blackwell said earlier of like, it became very clear to me that Gabriel lost. Because he lost like the only thing he cares about.
Yeah. So eventually Ophelia declares that neither of these versions of Genevieve in front of her are her sister. And it turns out that that's the correct answer, which is insidious.
That is a trick question, and that is not fair.
Correct. So when she leaves this challenge victorious, she determines to go see the Prince of Devils immediately because she thinks that she gets all the pieces and she thinks that she's won.
Okay, so real quick. It's either really insidious or really obvious, because if Blackwell says if you choose wrong, the real one dies in the real world, that already tells you that she's not here.
Yeah, but
right?
that's the thing for me that was like,
what?
I don't know. I don't know if so now I'm getting in my head about it, because I'm like, did they say that it was copies? Did he say it was copies? Did I just think that it was copies because I know it's not the real one? I'm like, how much do you believe that your real world person was teleported into this place? And then my question would be like, okay, you were teleported here. What were you doing right before?
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, it's either really obvious or kind of like that was just a slip and it just happened to be true.
I think it's both, and I hate it. I mean, I love it.
I know.
I hate it because I'm like, oh shit, that's so scary.
My brain. Yeah. So before she does this, Sinclair pops in and tries to stop her. But he's also in disbelief that she can summon the portal to go see the Prince of Hell anyway. Blackwell, on the other hand, is incandescent that Ophelia's like kicking ass and taking names and winning, and encourages her to keep going. So she summons the portal, and Blackwell promises her, quote, with every ounce of my soul, when you go through that door, it will not be the last time I see you.
Little does he know.
Yeah, little do either of them know.
Anybody know. Okay, so just point of order. Would there have been a 9th competition? Did she like skip a step?
I think so.
Because it would have been like a fight to the death, right? Like she skipped something.
I mean, the 9th level of hell is treachery, but it's Satan frozen in ice in the center. So I don't think that there would have been. I mean, maybe technically like the challenge would be to get to the level 9 if there were more people that survived level 8.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Weird.
Unclear.
Just curious. Doesn't matter. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. So Ophelia goes through the portal and she's transported into a dark, featureless room. So she calls for Salem, the Prince of Hell, and when nothing happens, she calls for Blackwell. And eventually, Blackwell does appear, but he reintroduces himself as Salem Erasmus Blackwell, Prince of Devils.
And he's different. Like,
yeah.
He's all like more suave and he's like, hello, Ophelia.
Yeah, he like knows exactly who he is. He's just it's Draco Malfoy incarnate. I love it.
It's Draco Malfoy for sure.
Yeah. So before this real day interaction resolves, we get a flashback from Salem/Blackwell's perspective of the day that his imprisonment happened. And we learned that it had been a year, since his beloved had disappeared and been taken from him. And as a last resort, he goes back to his father, the King of Hell. And I think he doesn't really expect his father to like give up his beloved or still have her.
Yeah.
And so like he's asking what happened, and his father's like, I know your true name. The jig is up. So you're my bitch now, essentially.
Would your father not know your true name? Where do true names come from?
I don't know. It's some fae shit. I don't know.
It is some fae shit. And again, this one of the things like it didn't really bother me, but I'm kind of like, okay.
Didn't you name him? I don't know. So we
You're my
learned
bitch.
that the King of Hell learned Salem's true name by torturing Salem's beloved until she gave it to him. And in this conversation, we also learned that the reason that the King of Hell is so butthurt about this whole relationship is that he sees Salem's relationship with this woman as weakness. And so wants to burn that out, essentially.
Ouch.
Salem begs his father to punish him rather than his beloved. And his dad's like, yeah, I'm going to do both of those things. So he brings out this poor woman who we only know as Angel, which is what Salem calls her.
I think that's her name because he says it with a capital A here.
Does he say it with a capital A like at the end of a sentence, or is it just like beginning of the sentence, capital A, Angel?
I'm going to check.
Okay.
I read it like it was her like actual name. But then I was like, would it be cool if she was an angel? But
it would be cool if she was an angel. I still suspect that maybe there's an angel connection here, or there could be.
Because there is a heaven. Okay, I'm going to check. Okay, I think it's her name. So this line during this true name, it says, his father knew his true name. Every threat he wanted to aim at the man was empty. And now that Angel, capital A, had been taken, he didn't have anything left to fight for anyway.
Got it. Okay, so maybe it is her name, Angel. I like that.
Yeah.
So poor Angel is a bloody, tortured mess, but still alive. And they're able to hold each other for a brief moment and confess their love. Salem vows never to forget her. And then his father rips Angel's heart out of her chest.
Cool.
Cool. Immediately afterward, he imprisons Salem in Phantasma, and he tells him that there is a loophole, and if Salem does manage to free himself, that he will be rewarded with everyone he knows who knows his real name to forget it.
So you can't be no one's bitch.
Correct. So after Salem is imprisoned, we see the king summoning another member of his court who puts the soul of Salem's beloved into a locket and then grants that heart-shaped locket to a necromancer in their dungeon named Hestia Grimm. And thus, the Grimm family came into the possession of the locket.
Okay, just go on this journey with me. You're a necromancer who has been imprisoned by Satan. And then some dude hands you a piece of jewelry and is like, you're free to go now.
I would have about 17 follow-up questions.
Don't ever take the locket off. Good luck.
Yeah, or I mean, it can't just be that they handed her the locket because their magic is tied to it, I think.
Right. Yeah, it
so
is.
like that had to be a painful process.
Yes, I think so too.
But I would still have about 17 follow-up questions, but
yeah, like I just get to go now? Okay.
So back in present day, Ophelia doesn't understand what's happening because, as we've said before in our coverage, Blackwell doesn't have a demon mark. But then he tells her that his demon mark is actually his white hair, which is rather convenient as a ghost.
Oh my God, I loved this so much, honestly.
Me too.
I was like, brilliant, full applause, no notes. Love it so much. Thank you, Draco Malfoy. Absolutely.
And it makes sense to me because a hair, it can be interpreted as a crown. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
It was
Love
brilliant. And then like he himself doesn't know because like it's just his hair.
Yeah. It's just, he's a ghost. He has white hair. Sometimes that happens, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I love it. I was like,
loved it.
yep. Praise Kaylie Smith.
So when he goes on to share that when Sinclair told Ophelia the story about Salem himself, he was talking about Blackwell and Salem as if they were different people, but he knew that they were one. Because of the curse, he had to keep them separate because though he can talk about Salem, he can't like specifically identify who Salem is within the competition. He also shares that during the time of the competitions, Blackwell doesn't know who he is, but between competitions, he's his true self. So when they met the first time before the competition, he was the real version of himself.
Which is why he remembered his loophole.
Exactly.
I'm so glad that we got like this explanation and it wasn't too much. It didn't feel like this weird retroactive info dump. Like it answered all my questions and it was really succinct.
Yeah, we'll get to it in our ratings, but one of my highest praise for this book is that like it fits such a complex story into such a small relative amount of time.
Yeah, because this is a complex reveal too that really could have been fumbled, and I think it was handled very beautifully.
Yeah, exactly. So we also learn that Poe, the cat, is a player in this because he's the spy of the King of Hell, keeping an eye on things.
I love that cat.
So Ophelia's devastated because she thought that coming here to the Prince of Hell would enable her to free Blackwell. Blackwell tells her to not waste any more time or emotions on him because it's not worth it. Ophelia tells him that she was going to use her Devil's Grant to find a way to free him. But during her confession, she realizes that what he needs to free himself is the locket that she wears around her neck, and so she takes it off and gives it to him freely. She tells him that she loves him, and he begs her to stop because he knows that the curse will affect her only outside of the walls of Phantasma, even if it doesn't affect him because he's a devil. But she tells him that's okay. Quote, I want you to know that I will gladly take on whatever this place is going to curse me with, knowing you will finally get out of the hell you've been trapped in for so long.
Oh.
So the locket breaks apart in Blackwell's hands and it frees him from the curse, restoring him to full power and untethering him from Phantasma. But he vows to not let his father take Ophelia from him again. So he offers to first return to her a working heart as her prize for winning the competition, and she agrees to that.
Thanks.
Cool.
The least you can do.
Look, once she's physically stabilized, he says that the curse will take something else to break it. And he says, look, I can break it, but you have to give me your soul. I promise I'll give it right back, unchanged, immediately afterwards. But she's like, no.
Hard pass.
Not on that. So he tells her, look, I need a powerful tether because Phantasma is falling apart. It can no longer tether me to this plane. And if I don't have one, then I'm going to go back to hell. So she's like, what about me as your tether?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. And he tells her that could work, but if you do this, we're going to spend eternity together. Like you will have an immortal lifespan with me. And she agrees. So he tells her, quote, I would trade every other soul in the world if it meant I would get to keep you forever.
Aww.
So we get a little bit of an epilogue after this that shows the aftermath of Phantasma. And I think the author intentionally buries the lead here because Ophelia just goes on and on and on about like the control over the shadow voice that she's gotten and how she and Genevieve are putting their life back together and Lucy and blah, 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 blah. And then she finally gets home. And of course, Blackwell is there. And the three of them are getting a happily ever after.
And they're going to travel the world.
They're going to travel the world. And Ophelia ends the book by telling us that she, quote, revels in the little piece of heaven that she saved from the dark depths of hell.
It's so good. Even the epilogue where she was burying the lead, I was like, okay, come on, just like reveal it. Come on. And then I still, because Blackwell even says like, hey, like your life will be tied to mine, but we don't have to be together. Like if you don't want to be with me, that's fine. And I feel like she was trying to be like, oh, look, they're not together. Like, no. You can't pull the wool over my eyes on this. Also, he's the Prince of Hell and he's just going to like live in New Orleans. It's the only thing I want to know. Like, what does Blackwell's like day-to-day life look like? And what does his father think about this?
I know. Like, I think that's the only thing that I wish we'd gotten a little bit more wrap up. Like, We had talked about in our debrief, like I would definitely read the follow-on sequel of like the devil having to find like a new bride to get a new heir because his son just fucked off.
It's just like, I'm gonna go live a immortal mortal life. I'm just gonna go like
Deuces.
work at a cobbler. Bye, bitch. Like, what?
Yeah. Goodbye. Okay.
I hope we see Blackwell in the subsequent book just to get like a check-in on like, what does your life look like?
I hope we do too. Just like by the way, this is what normalcy looks like.
Yeah. So strange.
Anyway, let's get into our ratings.
Yes.
So we are in agreement. How did we rate the spice level?
Okay, we both gave it a 4. The only reason it wasn't a 5 for me, and this is gonna sound so like weird, but whatever, is like it was just pretty vanilla. Okay, like they have sex in Blood Rain, fine, but the rest of it is pretty like missionary. We have some great oral scenes, but it was pretty like straight heterosexual, non-adventurous sex with the exemption of the Blood Rain.
Right.
It's great. The scenes are great. I do wish we got one more scene because the last 2 potential scenes get cock-blocked and we don't get like a final wrap-up scene. I would have loved a scene with him in his like full Prince of Hell glory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and,
that would
like,
have been great.
Full magic. So that made it not a 5 for me, but honestly, One-Handed Reading Club, it was great. It had all the things we like. We had enough of it. I didn't feel like we got skimped on any of it.
Yeah. And it happened early enough, in like halfway through we started getting smut scenes and I was like, okay, cool. So this is actually a romance, not like a lip service romance.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. It's so hard to tell when we find books. Okay, 90% of the books we find, we don't know other people that have read them. Probably because I don't talk to a lot of people about books besides Katie. So it's hard to like trust Goodreads or the internet of like, is this spicy? Because some people will rate things at like 5 chili peppers and there's like 1 kiss. And I'm like, guys.
Yeah. Or like 1 kiss and a finger. And I'm just like, okay.
And then other things I've seen where it's like 2 chili peppers and it's like fucking priest. I'm like, what are you reading? That's the 5 chili pepper.
I want to see your to be read list, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's just really hard to tell. But it was great. I was so happy with this.
Yeah, same. Bringing us to writing style, we rated that a 4. And honestly, the only reason that we rated it a 4 is that there's like a couple of typos.
We didn't
literally like 2.
We didn't call out the typo, but I do want to because it's a very funny one. Like as far as typos go,
yeah,
it almost didn't bother me. So it's when Cade and Ophelia are gonna have their fight. I'm looking through our text because you texted it to me. They're about to have their fight, and it's supposed to say like Cade is interlocking his fingers, and it says interlicking. And I had to do a double take. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. I mean, look, as far as typos go, pretty funny. I don't even remember the other one because it was like very pedestrian, but the interlicking his fingers was really fucking funny.
It's really funny to me. My only other thing with writing style is it kind of goes into storytelling as we're wont to do. Is like, I still want to know what's up with Lucy and maybe we'll find it in the future, but like, what is she?
Yeah, I agree. Just to wrap up writing style, I really appreciated how much the author fit into such a short amount of time. Like the way that she was able to like craft the story and deliver the information was very well done. Like I would be surprised if this was her first book because it was just like very professional and like just we see a lot of books that meander or like they give us superfluous information or like, you know, that it's just not well edited. And this story was. So writing style 4.
So good.
Bringing us into quality of storytelling. What do we rate that as?
Also a 5. Not also. This one is a 5. To kind of talk about the meandering, this book was really well paced. When we first started it and I realized that it was a competition and there were like 9 levels in 9 days, I was a little worried because that seemed like it was setting us up to seeing every single moment of every single day. And we kind of do, but it's all important. Like it all matters. And we're not seeing like bullshit. Like everything we're told makes sense. The competition itself was really good. There were a couple actual competitions that just didn't do it for me, but I've never written a book with 9 mystical competitions. So like they can't all be great.
Yeah.
And they were amazing. We never got info dumps. We said this in our coverage, but this author took a really complex story and multiple complex reveals, and they were delivered so clearly. Like, I'm not left with any questions as to, like, that didn't make sense or plot holes. Every question we had got answers. Even questions that I didn't think we were going to get answered, like why her mom died, we got an answer to. And it was satisfactory and it made sense.
Yeah. I really appreciated how the book was very intentional with its story building and like world crafting and eventing, right? Like it didn't just throw red herrings in there, which it fully could have because it's kind of horror, like mystery adjacent.
Yeah.
Like it could have done that, but it chose not to. And I appreciated that.
I appreciate that too. And it was very clean.
Very clean. So if it's not clear, we highly recommend this book.
Yes, very, very much.
Yeah. I had a great time reading it. I know that it's like 400 or 500 pages TBD, but it doesn't feel like it. It's a quick read. It's very entertaining. I think you'll like it. And we talked about this in the debrief, but I think it's worth saying here, like it wasn't too scary. I know it's clocked as horror, and there definitely was some like scary things, but I almost wanted it to be scarier.
I know. I could have had more of the horror too. Mm-hmm. It's not any scarier than honestly any of like the other Fae books I read. Like those are pretty violent and graphic.
Right.
Most of those have like war in it. So the only thing that was like scary in this is that there's more like blood and hauntings, but it could have been scarier for me. And I'm excited to see more of similar, I want to say like more of the same, honestly, in the next one.
Yeah, same. So we did it, guys. Those are our thoughts on Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this journey. Let us know what you thought on the socials. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Goodreads at Spice Readers Pod. And if you like our podcast and want more, consider joining our Patreon, where we release Patreon exclusive episode on our off weeks. And if you really, really like us, drop us a review wherever you listen. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.